Hey gang. Today we're going to do a slightly different lesson. It's not so much a lesson as it is a rant or a little pet peeve of mine and maybe some thoughts around that. So I published a video a couple weeks ago and it was one of these exercises type things that was maybe a little slightly theory based. And a bunch of the side videos that came up were things like why caged is better than three notes per string system, and why you should never learn why you should never learn caged, and you should only learn the three note per string system, or why triads are the answer to the guitar, or how you have to learn all your 2-5-1s in all keys. Just drives me crazy. And I know from a lot of the questions that I've gotten from people over the last few weeks that are sort of lamenting, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, or I know the pentatonic scale in the blues box position on the 5th fret, how can I get beyond that? Or should I learn Dorian modes, or should I learn the modal play versus the blues? It drives me crazy. So, and I know a lot of other people are driven crazy by that. So what I wanted to tell you was, number one, high level, it's all about getting what's in here, right? Your brain out through our chosen instrument, which is, most of us, it's the guitar. Maybe some others as well. But the guitars are main thing. We're not horn players, so we're not trying to get it out of our mouths. We're not vocalists. We're not keyboard players. We're guitarists. So it's all about getting the thoughts up here, out through here. And we can do that through our ears and our fingers, right? That's basically what we use in doing this. So that's number one. Number two is, if we think about working on the guitar, we have three elements of that. We have theory, we have technique, and we have repertoire, or music, right? What are the songs that we're doing? Of those three, repertoire, in my very strong opinion on this, repertoire is by far the most important. Nobody ever said, wow, that guy has great technique when they were listening to the audience. They were thinking about how cool the song sounded. They weren't thinking about, wow, that minor pentatonic, or wow, that Mixolydian mode. He really knows that. Maybe other guitarists were, but that's few and far between. So what I recommend is, when we're talking about theory and when we're talking about caged or three notes per string or pentatonic scales or what have you, what I would say to you is pick one of those things and learn it really well. Now, I'm not talking about absolute beginners. If you're an absolute beginner, of course you've got to learn some of the basic open string chords. And of course you've got to learn the notes on the fretboard, right? That's a must. I know a lot of people who consider themselves advanced players who don't know the notes on the fretboard, and that's an issue. So if you have that issue, you should work on it. I think a lot of that comes from what I'll call pattern play. Now, it is true that it's important to understand that the guitar has repeating patterns based on, mathematical principles of the fretboard, but it's not the only thing about music. Music isn't playing patterns. So I think as a lot of guitar players, we play patterns too much. And so we can break out of that by playing repertoire. That's one of the things. But anyway, if you're beyond the basics, what I'd recommend is pick one of those things. Maybe it's the cage system. Maybe it's the three note per string system. Maybe it's the 2-point system that I'm going to talk about in an upcoming lecture. But pick one of those and learn a tool, and then learn how to use that tool creatively so that you can adapt it when you hear a song and you say, oh, I can play this, or I can play that. And beyond that, once you want to go forward, if you are afflicted like me and you love all sorts of different types of music, you love everything from Django Reinhardt to Allman Brothers to Hendrix to hard rock and soul and all that, you've got to pick up lots of different styles, and you can do that, but you have to have some real solid base where, let's say it's pentatonic scales, where I can play pentatonic scales for AC/DC, and then if I go and I play into if I'm in a soul guitar, type of situations, I can think about using pentatonic scales there. Even in jazz, I can think about using it. I might have to use it differently, but all of that's good because I think I've learned it to the point of being reasonably creative with it. Now, testament to this is Phil X. I don't know if you ever listen to that guy, but that guy can play. Whether you like his music or not, he can play, and he is a self-confessed pentatonic adept. That's what he does. He knows the pentatonic scales really well. He can play very creatively, and he can play circles around a lot of the guys like me who are on the internet teaching. So Robin Ford's another example. I was listening to a piece of instruction that he gave where he was basically playing pentatonics, and he played a diminished scale. And at some point he stopped, and this was about using diminished scales. He stopped and he said, "Diminished scale and pentatonics, story of my life." Robin Ford's about as good of a guitarist as you're going to run up against. So if he can do it, I think it's important for us to keep that in mind, that we don't have to know everything. That if you're good with the pentatonic scales and you don't want to do modes, you don't feel that you have to do modes to be creative, don't do it. It doesn't make you less of a person or a guitar player. It just is what it is, right? If you want to play Satch and Satriani and Steve Vai, maybe you need to learn about modal play. If you need to know Wes Montgomery, or you're going to have to know arpeggios and triads and drop two voicings, yes. So that's it. Just don't sweat it too much and enjoy yourself along the ride, and that's it. Boy, that was a crank. Okay, we'll see you on down the road.